Hey everyone, what's up? DJ Sterf here. Alright, so I've been rushing through this game so much that I haven't really taken time to analyze what's going on in full. So I'm going to do that right now. And it's a new day, so the lighting's a little bit different. I might have a little bit of green around me because the lighting has changed. It's brighter outside. It's morning. So, alright, let's just make a big old list of what's going on. And the thing is, you can pause the game, I think, if you hit Control P. But let's sort this out. I probably should have done that initially with that. Let's do robots. World descriptors. What does the robot think about his or her world? Because Murad is a she. What do people or inhabitants think about the world? And maybe what's preventing the world from being realistic or an actual utopia. And then if there's any philosophical or spiritual parallels here. So let's spread these out. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, that didn't work either. All right, that's probably fine. Okay, so let's go down the list. We have Melenz, you have Murad, you have BioBeta, and Alphys. I think that's how you spell it. First. So let's just go down the list. We have Melenz's world. So okay, I gotta go in analysis mode here. So Melenz. The world of Melenz, you have that big old dome. Everything's kind of dark outside. It's very industrial. But then there's a dome for farm work. I mean, it's a urban versus a rural environment for sure. What else? It's kind of prosaic in the dome. What does the robot think about his or her world? Interestingly, like Melenz thinks he's done a good job creating the world, but when the virus overwhelms it, he says something to the effect of "Save yourself. You're more important than this failing world." And that's not a direct quote. That's just essentially what he was getting at after I think even the second round of the virus. He's like, "Yeah, get out of here. You're more important than this failing world." What do the people or inhabitants think about the world? They really love it. So they love it. See it as a utopia. Love Melenz as the world creator. What's preventing the world from being a realistic or an actual utopia? And I'll go to Murad, but maybe not enough focus on the non-physical, because yeah, life is more than just a body, and we see that in Murad's case as well. It's probably the opposite on this, but we'll get to that. Philosophical or spiritual parallels. There seems to be a theology of work. I think of with 2 Thessalonians 3:10-11 when it talks about how there were people in the church, in the early church in Paul's time, that were being lazy. They weren't working. They were taking advantage of other people. And so Paul says even like if they don't work, they shouldn't eat. So everyone should pull their own weight as much as they can. So that's I think in there. But there's also Genesis 2 where you're still in the garden, you're working, and that's kind of the initial thing. So everything's been set up here to sustain the world. That's a plus here. It is a sustainable world in terms of the food because everyone's farming, but I don't know. It's not too unrealistic of a world, but also maybe the lack of interest from the world creator, because Melenz, when the going gets tough, he's just gone. So maybe that's the case, but Maybe you see some of this as well with the others. The others know that their worlds are going to fail too, but they have different attitudes about it, it seems. So let's go to Murad with Murad more. The world descriptor there is, this is a new agey, spirit-based world. You can tell even from the intro screen, it's just very, very much, not ephemeral, but just, it's new agey. So, what does a robot think about his or her world? So her world in this case, because Murad's a she. Let's see. What does Murad think? Like the world is properly essenced and spirit-based. So that is spirit-based. So like the emphasis is correct, but the sustainability is low. What do the inhabitants think about the world? They're lost. They're lost, confused, detached. They're all just random, floating around. Like, where am I? I don't know where I am. But the robot, Murad is different from Melenz. Murad is much more focused on the subject. Maybe I should add in a robot descriptor here. Let's do that. Robot descriptor. So Melenz just seems to be practical. Murad seems to be concerned about emotional and spiritual matters. Murad, she talks about the sample 217. I don't think Murad actually mentions 217, but like she's in pain, yet there's a ton of love in her, and she's in danger. That type of thing, like just knowing the situation. So it's interesting there. Interesting that Scott made Murad a she as well. Maybe that's a commentary on the feminine focus and how they can read a person so much better. Like a mother can read the baby so well. So who knows if that's in there or not. What else? What's preventing the world from being realistic or an actual utopia? It's just no body consideration. Just people feel detached, aren't really involved. Oh my goodness. Wow. Aren't involved citizens. All right, and let's see. It reminds me of 1 Corinthians 15, where it talks about the glorified body that we'll receive. So after life is over, those who are in Christ will receive a body that will not fade away. And so like the body being temporary, but the body is described as a temple of the Holy Spirit, 2 Corinthians 3, and like 2 Corinthians 3:16, another 3:16, not John 3:16. But what else? So let me just put these down. 1 Corinthians 15, 2 Corinthians 3:16. Maybe put a but in there. 1 Corinthians 15, so the glorified body, but the body that we have right now is also to be taken care of, so that may be a focus that Murad missed. What else, though? Maybe to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord, but that would be an external parallel or even illusion there. ALL, fusion. I guess that's really it for that. Biobeta, man, obsessed with genetic samples or genetic manipulation. Also arrogant, because you remember at the start when Biobeta was like, I'm doing simulations that you couldn't possibly understand. I don't get that from the other ones, but all Biobeta talks about in his world is the sample 217. So the world descriptors there, not as concerned. Obsessed with sample 217. What does a robot think about his or her world? Oh, whoops. I put that wrong column. Yes. World descriptors. Full of obsessed robots. Full of genetically obsessed robots. I'll do that. Genetically obsessed. I know it's an adverb. That's an optional hyphen. Why not? Genetically obsessed robots. It feels like aristocratic in design. It's like it's very, very posh, luxurious. It's not really. I mean, it's not really a new heaven and new earth. I'm thinking of the parallels already, but I mean this one is. This one's weird. It has a street, so it has a street and tunnels. Winding. And I should say obsessed with sample 217 out of 352, which is also there. So, what do people or the inhabitants think about the world? They're robots. They just want you to find sample 217. Overly obsessed with the genetic sample. I mean, this is a bioethics world right here. This is bioethical philosophy. I don't talk and type very well. There's also robot genetic manipulation, like the philosophy of whether we should have robots that take care of the human domain. It gets into sticky. And it's not nanotechnology, but it's like the nanotechnology controlling the genetic manipulation. It's tricky. Oh man. What's preventing the world from being realistic or an actual utopia? In manipulating life, you can actually end up destroying it. So this is a bioethical nightmare here with BioBeta, and appropriately named. What is it? Beta Grid 0.9 is the land. So it kind of matches his over-the-top personality, his luxurious world, and all that. But all of them aren't concerned about that world, and they don't enjoy the world. They're just like, where is that sample? Where is sample 217? Where is this? And I'm thinking of Ephesians 2:17. I'm not sure if that 2:17 is what it's referring to, but that's he preached to you peace for those who were afar as well as to those who are near. But that's talking about Jesus and how he brought a message of peace and reconciliation through him being crucified and raising from the dead, and how that restores us to relationship with God. That's what Ephesians 2:17 is all about. I'm not sure if that's what it's referring to or if it's just a random number. I don't know what 352 would be. I've been over that in that section as well, but robot descriptor for Alphys. Probably just go to that. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything with 217. But if it creates a new society, if it creates a new creation, then maybe that's what it's getting at. That might be reading into a little bit too much, like a 2 Corinthians 5:17, the new creation, or Galatians 2:20, being crucified, yet nevertheless I live. Okay, robot descriptor of Alphys. Let's go to the Alphon domes. Robot descriptor. Alphys is really insightful. He knows what's going on. He knows what's going on in reality. I get that impression. Like he knows what you're up to, and I'm pretty sure I figured out what coffee is actually doing. We'll get to that in a second. So, world descriptors. I mean, climate is king. Recreate Earth. I guess seasonal seasonal and or mood-based domes. Weather simulator is pretty central. So you have the outside of it, there's also like lightning and storms going on outside of the domes, but the domes are like protected areas for humans. So it's based on protecting the humans and creating an environment in which they've flourished before. So it's like, do what has worked in the past. Do what worked in the past. And he's practical in that regard. What does the robot think about his or her world? So Alphys, he thinks that this is the only sustainable option for humans out of all the simulations. Also knows that only one simulation will exist, or will and can exist due to power limitations. And if Amos were up, all 4 of those simulations could be there, could be powered. And I think Alphys is the one that mentions that as well. Maybe it was coffee. Maybe it was coffee. I think it was Alphys, though. What do people or inhabitants think about the world? They're none. Well, no, there was those robots. Robots, they all look happy feature-wise. Just trying to put my line up from top. Otherwise, they're just seasonal creatures. Most really dangerous looking. I mean, this is the most ridiculously difficult looking world. What's preventing the world from being a realistic or an actual utopia? The dragon boss being too hard compared to the other ones. That's where I'm at right now. I keep failing on that dragon boss. I've failed twice now, I think. I don't think it's more than 2, but I've failed at least twice. Dragon boss. All right, for real though. The world is driven by the idea that climate is the main predictor of human sustainability. But what about the soil? What about safety moving between domes? Is it a person's choice? What about the soil? I'm thinking if you just grow fall crops in one soil, I mean, what kind of soil did he make? Crop rotation. If you keep putting in squash in the soil, you're going to rob it of the nutrients. I mean, that's why people change around the crops from season to season, and that's such a nice thing about the way the world is built, is you can plant different things that take different nutrients, and then it works. But here you have just, each dome has one type of season, and that's it. So you grow squash in one all the time, and then it's like, why won't squash grow anymore? So it doesn't seem realistic. But also that, how are people going to get to that fall dome? Like, are they supposed to jump from those platforms? Like, is that realistic there as well? Is Alphys going to carry them to each different dome? Is he going to change it every 3 months? But then what about the crops? All right, philosophical or spiritual parallels. Philosophical or spiritual parallels. Recreation of Genesis 1, maybe? I don't know, because it's not a full creation. It's just, this is a partial simulation with a seasonal set of domes. And you have that marsh dome, which that's why I say the seasonal and or mood-based domes. It's the marsh dome. What is that supposed to be? And where's the summer dome? And it's the only one that you can fall off the bottom and in the simulation. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Is you can fall all the way down and then you just go back to Lune Infinis. So those are the robots, and there are all sorts of issues there that are covered. But Alphys mentions, and let me put in Amos, and then we have coffee, and then what was it, Deco. So Amos is the most powerful robot, but he's frozen. And so I have him unlocked since I found that wrench and we got the microchip, so I can use the attacks. But what Alphys is saying is that okay, let's go to step one. So this is evidence number one against Coffee being for Lune Infinis. Coffee is going on a mission against what the other four are going for. They're trying to make simulations to preserve human life, but they're going about it in ways that have failed or the wrong way. And I think BioBeta is near destroying the life completely because he's always obsessed over this sample 217 and genetic manipulation. So here we go. Coffee is destroying these antiviruses. These got to be antiviruses. These are to protect Lune Infinis so that the simulations can continue. That's why everything's like messed up and the power is all sorts of crazy. So that's what I'm thinking is going on. So Amos is the most powerful robot, but he's frozen. Amos could sustain all four of these simulations above, but Amos is frozen. And you notice in there that a few pieces of information. One, Murad says that there are 6 layers of antiviruses and that some are being destroyed. I'm pretty sure that was mentioned. And I believe that's what you're doing. So destroying the antivirus layers. And one thing, let's just say observations. Amos is in a room of his own and deactivated. It just says error. And that's maybe because of temperature? But he does do frozen related attacks. So maybe that is his climate anyway. So why would he be deactivated? And who deactivated him? And Coffee has the wrench, can fix anything. He didn't put him back. He just took the microchip. He didn't fix him up. That's an interesting move. Didn't fix up Amos. Took his microchip with the wrench. I'm typing badly today. So that's what we have so far. But Coffee, I believe, is destroying the antivirus layers. And you see here that Amos has a science capsule in his room. And I think Alphys was the one to point that out. Or it was either Alphys or BioBeta that pointed out, like, what's in Amos's room? And you can tell BioBeta hasn't been in Amos's room. They can't move between rooms, apparently. Because, I mean, I guess they're hooked up to whatever room they're in with their simulations. Because in Amos's room, you see that flashing, like, container with the red flashing container? I'm pretty sure that's the science capsule that's being talked about. And let's add this cryogenically frozen embryo. I mean, are we dealing with that sample 217 in that room? I'm pretty sure that's it. And so in Amos's room, Coffee seems to have hidden that embryo, and maybe from BioBeta. But Alphys is also concerned because Alphys it seems like a positive and almost sarcastic tone. So let's put in here maybe sarcastic, but I can't tell. I'm not fully sure. Because he says, you, like, to Deco in Coffee's body, he says, you and Coffee make a great team. And talking about, like, destroying the antiviruses. I think that was what was going on. And I don't think he was serious. I think that was a sarcastic, like, oh, y'all do a great job. Y'all are destroying what is keeping us alive, or our simulations alive. But Alphys knows that only one simulation will be able to be powered sustainably. So destroying the antivirus layers didn't fix up Amos, but still has a relationship with the robots. Gets stuff at night for them. So that's going on as well. What about Deco? Deco always decodes things. There. Always decodes things. Gets insulted by coffee a lot. Interesting there too, destroying the antivirus layers. With deco, coffee seems to threaten deco whenever he finds something significant. Almost as if coffee is trying to hide something. And I think that's going on. Coffee's trying to hide what he's doing. And I think he's trying to preserve that life. But how is he... Okay, he's destroying the antivirus layers. But the thing is, like, the minus thing is, too, like, wasn't one of them was named Viren, wasn't it? Like, Viren? That was one of the... that's... I don't know, why would you name an antivirus Viren? So maybe that's not it. Let me put this in gray because I'm really not sure if this is what's... Maybe that goes against it. I'll make it a little bit lighter. There. But coffee's doing something behind the scenes, and it's against these four. And what's going to eventually happen, I'm sure, is coffee is going to destroy everything. And as a result, either things are going to get destroyed completely, or these guys will be shut down, and coffee sees their missions as having failed. But the thing is, too, maybe coffee's trying to do a double plus. He's trying, like, he sees a way to do this, and he's doing things behind the scenes. He's finding the antivirus. But the one thing is, though, like, he remember his signal gets jammed on the fourth and final boss in each area. Like, why is that? Is that on purpose? Like, oh man, well, I have the most powerful virus available here, or antivirus, I don't know which. I was more sure about that a few minutes ago, but I'm not sure. But yeah, you just, oh no, I can't find it. You're gonna have to find it yourself, whether coffee is the villain or not. You know, why is your signal getting caught up in the most important part of each area, the most difficult part for sure. So that's crazy. So anyway, Deco always decodes things, gets insulted by coffee a lot. But Deco has emotions, so sentient. I mean, this was software created by Coffee to take over his body while he did something behind the scenes with his CPU power. So Deco is also lesser than Coffee, so less capable hardware, but Deco is able to spot what was being attacked or protected. So that's where we're at. So sample 217 seems to have been, like, Murad mentions that something's been harvested. What else? Murad also mentions that the robots can't go to sleep, like that they want to sleep. Remember that from Murad Moore? So Coffee may be on a mission to save sample 217 as well as allow the robots to sleep. Better solution. So we have a difference of perspective versus those who are actively trying to save humanity. So when you're in the trenches and actually doing stuff, you have a limited perspective, and maybe Coffee has a broader perspective here and says, oh, this is how to accomplish this whole thing. It's kind of the job of a manager, you know? So the workers, the developers, the QA, all that, they're involved individually in their parts of the work, but a manager has to see something broad and broad perspective. Kind of vision casting, but not even that, just plan making, roadmap making. That's probably a better illustration of that, is making a roadmap of what needs to be done. So It's interesting that Amos is frozen and deactivated. If Coffee really wanted the biggest bang for his buck, uh, wouldn't he want Amos's processing power? I don't know. So I guess we'll find out. But that's a little bit of the plot there going on. But I hope that's clarifying. But that at least gives me more clarity on what I think's going on. Is that Coffee is on a separate mission from the other four, and Coffee thinks he has a better solution. We'll find out whether that's actually the case, and whether these are actually viruses or antiviruses. I'm not sure. So anyway, all right, that's enough for this video, and this is part 19. Next part, I'm actually going to get back in the game, and we're going to try to just defeat that dragon again, because that's the only thing standing in the way of being done with all four on each one. So, all right, check you later. Peace, God bless, and yeah, hope this was interesting. Yeah.